Welcome back to Everything But the Lesson Plan, the podcast where we talk about the parts of education that doesn't come with a script, but shapes everything we do. I am your host, Franchesca Thompson, and we celebrate Teacher of the Year, we post pictures, we applaud the moments, but today we're talking about what happened before the award, the late nights, the doubt, the growth, the moments that don't get recognized but change everything because nobody starts as teacher of the year, runner up to teacher of the year. They start in the middle of figuring it all out. And today I have someone here who lived that journey, Michelle Mickens. Michelle is going to share her teacher story. Welcome to the show, Michelle. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's summertime, summertime. I'm hoping you are relaxing some.
I am. That's what I'm going to spend my summer doing to
Yeah.
self-care.
Self-care, that's big. I've had a couple of episodes on self-care, and it's something that, I've been in the industry for almost 20 something years, and I would say in the last 5 years, self-care has been a thing now.
Yeah, I
So
think that's a post-COVID effect.
you're right. That's when it started.
That's when we learned we needed
Yes.
it.
So let's talk about this. This episode is really about your teacher story and just your journey, the highs, the lows. And so I want you to go back to your first year of teaching. Okay. Not
Sure.
not that polished version, that real version. What was it? What happened during your first year?
So my first year was a great year, actually.
Hmm.
I, unlike so many teachers, I was a late start.
Hmm.
From the time I started college until the time I ended. It was about 10 years. I stopped and had children and took care of my family. So I was really excited that first year, and I ended up at a school that, it could have came straight out of a fairy tale. It was amazing. Great leadership, mentorship. My department chair was perfect. It was my first year was my oldest son's 10th grade year, which I taught. And so I had him in there, and it was
Wow.
just incredible. I actually had a really great first year. I was a little older and wiser and a little bit better prepared, I think, than I would have
Yeah.
been as a 22-year-old college student or having
Yeah.
just graduated.
We talk about school culture a lot. So it sounds like you guys had a really good, positive school culture that you were working in.
Most definitely. Most
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, and that matters, especially with the first year, because you feel supported whenever you have a strong school culture. So, let's talk about just some of your journey, your years of experience, some of the struggle. What point did teaching become a challenge for you?
So I think for the most part, it was always everything I had expected
Hmm.
until COVID happened.
Yeah.
And I would say, like most teachers, that was the turning point. Um, it was really difficult. Uh,
Hmm.
the COVID issue was not the only problem during the time we were gone. We
Yeah.
had a lot of gun violence in my community,
Hmm.
where I had lost several current and former students, or former students, one current student, through illness, gun
During that time.
violence. Several others were injured as a result of gun violence. And so everything had snowballed all at one time. And so
Yeah.
that was probably nothing matches that time period. Uh,
Hmm.
Nothing worse in my career ever happened
During that
uh,
time.
during
Yeah.
that time. Yeah,
I would say a lot of teachers, that was a challenging time for them. For you, it was the impact that you saw going on in your community because that source, that safe place for students to go to was taken away from them, and you had more students just at home and not knowing what to do. For me, it was more so I just was not, I didn't know how to teach. During COVID. I wasn't really good at that online teaching back then. I don't, it was a new concept
Right.
for me, and so I struggled with it. A lot of teachers I spoke to, it was a time that people were just depressed. You were going through just trying to learn this new space of education. And then you had to protect your family. You had people who were sick, and so I can understand why that was a turning point for you, especially with what was going on in your community. I wouldn't even know how to, deal with looking at the news and seeing something happen to one of my students, you know?
Well, and that's the hard part because you don't know how to
Yeah.
handle it. Student teaching, nothing.
Mm.
Professional learning. Yeah,
Yeah.
those exercises might help a little, but there
Mhm.
is nothing that can
Yeah,
prepare you for the emotional toll
that's right.
um, of having to deal not just with your own mental state, but with
Mhm.
the mental state of students as well.
Yeah. Did you have any mentors or someone that you looked up to during this time?
Oh, absolutely. My department chair, Marsha Willis, uh, is just still one of my very best friends. Um, she she just always knew how to say the right thing. She's so diplomatic
Hmm.
and she could be firm but gentle. And it's kind of crazy. I've always surrounded myself with teachers like that. Another one of my mentors was Marilyn Tate,
Hmm.
brilliant chemistry teacher, and my friend Jennifer Yawk, my friend Natalie Schneider. These are people that I bonded with early on, and we have still remained friends. And the irony is, none of us have the same teaching styles. You could
Wow.
choose four vastly different individuals to put in a room together than we are. But we have, I mean, even age-wise, where our ages are all vary, our subject areas vary,
Hmm.
but we all shared the same goal, and that is creating a learning environment for students that
Yeah.
are, that protect students, make them safe, and enable them
Hmm.
to learn better.
Yeah, and that's very important.
Yeah.
At some point in your journey, you got nominated to run for Teacher of the Year and in Georgia, and you landed as runner up for Teacher of the Year. Tell us what happened. How did you get there?
So, I don't no, I would like to say it's probably, I'm an English teacher and you have
Hmm.
to write a lot of essays.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what caught the eye of the judges. But I also think it was the content of the essays.
Hmm.
And what I really focus on has become, a dog whistle in politics,
Yeah.
which is diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Hmm.
And I just believed firmly in that. I believe that it makes a difference in making those students feel welcome and
Hmm.
safe. And so I designed all my lessons, everything from choosing the texts, choosing activities, choosing speakers to come in and talk to the kids after we'd read a book. Um, you name it, everything focused on the students as individuals.
Hmm.
Then you work that to meet the standards. And,
Yeah.
in English class, I'm very fortunate because in English class, there's not much you could be doing besides sleeping, maybe, where you're not addressing the state standards.
Yeah.
Probably, all of them in a single day, you could probably manage.
Yeah.
It's and that's what I did. I made sure that what I was doing would help the kids understand it better. And that was, acknowledging that we're all different. All the kids are from different, not just races and religions or ethnicities, but also different socioeconomic backgrounds. And recognizing that, I think I was pretty successful, making sure the kids were learning and showed growth.
Yeah, that's good. And so when I think about new teachers, especially new teachers, um, this job can be rewarding, but it may not look like that at first, right? For
Right.
you, your experience was a little different. I remember my experience. I cried the first day, because I was just like, what did I do? What kind of decision did I just make? Um, and so I want to know, just your advice to teachers that are listening right now. Some of them might be tired. Some of them may be going through their COVID moment. It may not, it could be anything, just personal things. Some people might be questioning their decisions, especially during the summertime. You do a lot of reflecting. Some people might be in their beginning, their middle, or their end. What would you say to that teacher? That's just, has,
Moving forward, right?
yeah, moving forward.
Oh, so, if the bottom line is things get worse before they get better. And right now we are at the height of a huge battle. The building's on fire in public education,
Hmm.
and we are seeing the wheels turn in a dramatic fashion. This has been building up since probably, I would say, after Brown versus Board of Education, but really after A Nation at Risk, Terrence Bell's report back in '83.
Hmm.
And it's just snowballed. And I think once we get past this hump right here, it's going to be so much better. I would
Yeah.
tell teachers to, first of all, find your people. Find,
Yeah.
and they don't have to think like you or believe like you. Just find them. Don't isolate yourself. And then I
Hmm.
would also say, of course, hang on. I mean, it sounds so very cliche, but hang on. It's going to get better, and it's going to get so much better. It'll be like nothing I've even seen before.
Yeah.
I truly believe that, or I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't
Yeah.
be doing the work I do. It's just hang on. That's all I
Just
would say
hang
is
on.
hang on. The
Yeah.
kids, without sounding cliche, because I've said a million times, false positivity to me is one of the greatest detriments to teachers.
Hmm.
And we have to be honest. And that's why you need to find your people who are also willing to be honest about the current circumstances
Hmm.
in our schools. And I think I would tell teachers now, just hang on. It's going to get better. I promise it's going to get better.
Yeah.
It's going to be better than it's ever been.
Never been.
And I'm excited for our future teachers or teachers just getting into the profession.
Hmm.
Good times are coming. I believe
Yeah.
that.
And I love that. We were talking earlier, and you were talking about how having students feel safe was like your initiative, like when you became a teacher. What was that? Explain that again.
So I grew up right outside of Chicago, and it was about 1984, I believe, or 1983. There was a lot of racial tension, and Black families just weren't welcome in my community. I don't know a better, more honest way to put it. And there were two horse racing tracks nearby, and they were in my district. And if you know anything about horse racing, you know that it's seasonal. And so at certain times of the year, the groomers, the trainers, anybody who did anything with horses were there for a few months during a
Hmm.
certain time of the year. And there was a Black family. The husband, I believe, might have been a trainer or a groomer. I'm not sure. He came to register his kids in our school, and the principal, who was afraid of I'm assuming some type of retribution.
Mm-hmm.
Um, told the family, I think it wouldn't be a good idea. You should probably go across the border right into Chicago there. Well, of course, that school wouldn't take his children because they were out of district. And it what ensued was a lawsuit
Yeah.
because the principal at the time refused to let that family in. And having grown up, my father attended the same grammar school I did. I grew up in the house my father did, and it
Mm-hmm.
was directly across from the school. And I loved school. I would lay out my school clothes 2 weeks before school started. I loved school. I
Yeah.
would sniff my school supplies and my new shoes. I mean, it was just so exciting for me. And all I could remember thinking, I've always wanted to be a teacher for since I was 3 years old. I'm an oldest child. I loved the idea of teaching, but I
Mhm.
knew in that moment why I was going to teach, and it was to make sure that no child ever felt like those children did,
Yeah.
who tried to register at that school. It was, I wouldn't be able to describe it like this as a 10-year-old, but it was kind of traumatic. The place I
Mhm.
felt the most safe
Yeah.
was very unsafe for them. And so I knew that I had to, um,
That was
I had this
your
duty.
initiative. Yeah.
Right. I had this duty, if I'm going to be a teacher, this has to be my main priority.
Yeah. I get it. Well, you know what? You have changed a lot of lives. You have the support of your students. This is a great story here that you've shared that could support teachers on their teacher journey. And so I want to say thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
hmm Michelle, your story is a reminder that excellence isn't built overnight. It could be built in the beginning, it could be built in the middle or towards the end. It could be built in the days no one sees, in the moments you choose to keep going. So I thank you for sharing your journey with us today. And to everyone listening, if you are in the middle right now, you're still growing, you're still showing up, still trying to figure it out, you are closer than you think. Thank you for joining us on Everything But the Lesson Plan. Please share this episode with the teacher who needs this reminder. And as always, keep thriving.